as you can see in the title there, is the Bible the complete word of God? And as we expound upon that, we have a lot more things to talk about. And when I said a lot, we have a lot more things to talk about to continue. And this is actually part 2 of that segment, as we're going to get deeper into the book and try to elaborate more on what part of the book is valid and the parts that are not. And believe me, it is a lot to unfold in just a short period of time, as we have to take different series to really kind of, expose all of this to you guys out there. So I want to say welcome again and thanks to everyone. And we're waiting for some people to get in. And in the meantime, we can discuss some other things. In the meantime, until you guys come in, then we can get in the topic of what the show is about, what today program is about, actually. So I have my books here, my Bibles and stuff here, and I'm ready. I'm ready to go at work. So welcome again. As I say, it's another Friday. For those of you who are, just are new to the channel, you guys can subscribe to the program. And we have a lot of videos out. You can go back and kind of scale back, and just try to go through what you can and, see if you can learn anything based upon some of the topics that we had already discussed in previous videos. So you guys can definitely go back and check that out. We're here again, and it's another Friday, and the energy is always up, and the blessings are coming from the heavens, and purifying the earth now and giving, those who are in need of, water. Those who are in thirst are in need of something is getting it today. So yeah, it's a blessing all across the board for us, and we're here just to talk more or kind of reiterate on some of the things that we discussed last week. And we were definitely talking about the last part of the conversation are dealing with the Israelites. And I believe we had a question about, I believe it was why, the Creator wanted to, to deliver the Israel from Egypt, and what was his purpose? Something of that, I believe, if my memories is, serving me correctly. But we're here again, and we're feeling good today. So we're going to get into the matter, the meat of the matter, right? So it's a lot of things to discuss when we speak about the Bible. And we talk about we talk about the validity of this book, right? And as you know, we've been talking about different topics relating to this book, which is very important that we need to know. We have and today we are going to really get down into some things, but it's important to know the truth about this book, the origin of the book, right? And before it becomes what it is today, before it was formulated in this context, right? Before, what was it like? Who was it about? I mean, who was it for, basically? And there's so many different layers to this that we have to uncover, right? Because it's a lot. And when I say it's a lot, because we have some information, that is compiled in this volume here, right? And we have to understand how it was, and the language that's been used today is different from the language then. So we're dealing with translations and from different sources, probably different groups of people as well, not people that can identify with the original language. So somehow it was translated, and maybe through research and other means, people have actually, kind of what you just say, try to analyze, right, or decode, or however they might put that, right, to see what was there. It would be similar to what in Egypt today, and the hieroglyphs and the walls of Egypt, and those things that are written there. I know they're trying to, research and to break it down and try to figure out basically what, those writings are, what do they mean? Or what are they saying? So this is what's happening when it comes to this book. I know the information is presented here. So we have to really get back to the origin in order to understand which direction to go, and how we understand the information that is given, in modern terms. So this is the most important thing that we need to do. In order for us to understand what took place at a certain time, we have to go back to the origin, the beginning of where things started. Right? So this is where we are now, as we try to go backward in time and try to uncover most of the truth, or all of it, basically, because that's what we want to do, is kind of, open the people's eyes to the reality of what's taking place. We must do that. So without a doubt, that's our mission right now, is to do that. So as I said, I wait for you guys to come in more, so we can really get down into the beef of things and try to, bring some light. As I said, there's so many misconceptions, there's so many false teaching, false doctrine, all kinds of things, all kinds of different things we live each day, right? We have to understand, right? As I said, most of what we do today in society is not based on how we process information from our own creative space. So we process these information not from our own creative space, but from a space that was presented. That means it means that there is a blueprint, right? And this blueprint is something that, we grew up as children, as kids, and we follow this blueprint, and basically that's what it is. There is nothing else. We follow a blueprint. You grew up, you see your mother eat certain food, you eat it. Unless, it not resonate with you and you get some allergic reaction from it, then you might not want to eat that food, right? You might say, oh, this is not something that I want to do. I want to try, but you already have a taste of it. So you can make up your mind after that to choose. There's many other options outside of that, right? So you would do that. But practically everything where you're doing your life today, you're actually mirroring or, emulating something that exists before you, someone who kind of put this, this information in place, or kind of put this idea in place, so you follow it. And it's based on a lot of things. Everything, I don't say everything, it's all about marriage, but the way that you dress, the food, the way that you conduct yourself, it affects your behavior, just the society we live in, all of that affect you as a person. And when we don't question some of the things like the elders before us or the ancients before us, when we don't take time to question and just keep living and perpetuating whatever was left for us without questioning whether it was right, whether it was wrong, but because out of respect or because out of the comfort of adapting to whatever it was, we continue to just do it. We continue to follow it. Nobody say anything. You grew up, you eat curry goat. Why you eat curry goat? Because people before you eat it. And when you taste it, it tastes good to you. So you keep that. That's a part of what you like now. So it becomes customary, right? To a lot of people and many of the things that we do the same way. as we talk in previous videos about, marriage, what marriage is, and how it was perceived by people outside. And I'm sure a lot of people have their own opinions and different, views and what they think it is. But you deal with marriage. And when you deal with that, who you dealing with? As everything else that you adapt within the society where you grew up, it's the same thing. Marriage, love, the way you talk, certain mannerism you pick up from people outside. Basically, it's the same thing. So as we talk about in last two video, you meet somebody, you meet a woman, you meet and you say you want to marry her. It's not based on really your true, feelings or that space that that is real to you. It's just a space that you adapted. You adapted these ideas and you want to express them to the way how everybody else expressed them, right? So you want to walk and you want to hold your woman's hand. It's not because you really want to hold, because these things have been done and you feel like it's a part of strengthening a relationship. It's a part of being what you call romantic, something like that. And as we mentioned before, what truly is romance, right? Romantic. What is it? So something you learn probably through watching movies and people acting a certain way or behaving a certain way with each other. It may seem fun to you. It may seem like something that can work for you. So you adapt it and you decide to use it, The same thing when you become an artist and you learn singing or you learn for DJs. The same thing. Somebody is there that you follow and you might come with your own twists or whatever it is, but we all are taking apart from those information that exists before us, right? So that's what it is. So the majority of the time, not everything that was passed down to us is actually true or actually the right thing for us, right? But the Bible speak about, the swine. And you know what the swine is? It's supposed to be pork, right? People love it. Some people love it. I like jerk pork, stew pork. I mean, people have, they what they like about, what they were introduced to. And when you introduce to certain things, and it tastes good to the tongue, you want to have that more, right? You eat something and it doesn't taste good to your tongue, you just don't want to deal with it anymore. But usually if it's, if it's an acquired taste, right, then you take it and say, all right, I will eat this more. You will put that on your list. So you're sticking off each thing that you like and it becomes a part of, becomes a part of your daily life or yearly life. It's just a continual thing that you're going to do as you live and go on throughout whatever society you live in. Yeah, so you understand now that, when we talk about relationship, how people interact, the things that they do, the expectations. Expectations is you're here, right? And because of colonialism and what was forced upon you, right, you have to follow the pattern. You have to follow the blueprint. They say you have to go to school. And if you don't go to school, that means you're nobody. Right? That means they're telling you that formal education is what's going to shape you into whoever you will become. What will you become? Right? Because as I said, it's just an adaptation. You go out, you work, but the society is based, right? And what you call academia. You learn certain things and it's been just the language how the society was created, right? In that you have to learn the language to understand how to repair something. Right? So you'd have to sit down and learn. So this is basically we're learning how to maintain something. So when you go to school, you just learn and just to have the common sense, right? Because everything is literature. It's written, right? It's scripted. So you're learning as you go to school, right? You might think you're not go college or you're not go graduate high school, but guess what? You have a part of that programming already. So you're learning this to continue. Right? And this language makes you familiar with things around you, right? The items, via drive, the signs, right? The road, the rules of the road. I mean, the warning signs, the non-warning signs, whether to turn left or right. All these information, so even you go to school, this is basically what it's exposing you to these things. You can learn it orally, right? by being around people who are discussing these things, you can understand it. But if you want to get real technical, then you have to, everything is in textbooks. So school is a way to teach you how to help to maintain the society or the advancement of society. As the society advance more, you have to learn how to do that. So this is where you're forced into school to learn about these things. And they become a part of your personal, your private life. Everything basically function around the same thing. But if you sit back for a second and start to just peel the layers back and start to just think for a second, meditate upon it, then you'll ask so many more questions about why are you doing everything that you're doing. You tell your kids them, oh, you can't make it unless this. You can't do this unless this. And nobody ever spent time to learn about who they really are. You know what I'm saying? We never spend time to learn that. You know what we learn? We learn the information, right, that was uploaded inside of us. That's the information that we reference to all the time. What other information you're getting, right? So you go back to what you were learned or what you were taught, right? From wherever institution you learned it. So we go back to these information. That's all we do. So we never take time to realize who we are, what we truly need, right? And how to excel based on our true talents. What is your true talent? Most of the time you don't know because nobody never teach you how to cultivate that. You didn't learn how to harvest yourself, right? So you lost. You're basically waiting for information and you become programmed because this is a pattern that was put in place so that you, the first slave, right, will continue to work, and the second slave is your sons and your daughters, and they will continue after you. So the legacy pass on, and they will become a part of this, society. Working and supporting and building, and this is why people no need to be together like the way they are today in this melting pot, right? Everybody should have a place, a home for themselves. All nations should have a home for themselves. And it's by choice why you go live amongst other groups of people. Because everybody culture is different. We're not the same. Right? And if you allow another culture who cares about their culture more than you, this is where racism start to, to fester, right? So you need to understand separating and staying in your own lane, and just by maybe associating with someone, maybe to purchase something or for information, but for another group of people to govern the other group, just not gonna work. It's always gonna be some unfair treatment, as you can see what happened here in this country from the very inception, of slavery and the founding fathers and those members who came here and what they did. They want to be in charge. So the comfort that they would get, their people would get that comfort as well. The other people, and I'm saying the other people who stand in front of the gun, will always be in fear of what's coming out of the gun next, who the next bullet is going to hit. But those behind the trigger, of course, they're safe. Their life is not in threat, right? Them feel safe and secure. You in front of the gun, always in fear because you don't know what's going to happen to you next. So I think when people have the opportunity to live their lives, and I'm not talking about just isolation is very good for a lot of people, but within their own space. And when you can live in your own space, you're able to mature more. You're able to understand yourself. You can able to cultivate your your creativeness, right, and bring it to light. When you're under somebody else, right, rulership, like where we are now, whatever you comes out with doesn't belong to you anymore. It belongs to the head of the society. So and look what the head of the society does. They had patterning office, right? So if you create something, just come up with an idea that can be good for you to how you think. You have to go through their system. Their system decide whether or not what you're bringing to the table is essential for their society or community. And they will tell you whether or not they will approve the, okay, well, this is good. And then you have all these different groups coming to stop you because you have to build it a certain way where, it can be profitable to these members or other people or other groups that there are other people that look like them. So it's always a profit. So you might come up with an idea, somebody want a part of it. They said, oh, well, you have to put this in it and you have to allow this to go in it. This way, this person can make money, you make money, and it's all profits. You understand me? But the idea don't belong to you. No, it's in the hands of somebody else. So they could tell you even when you go there that somebody already have the idea, somebody already have this pattern, right? So you can't get it. What you gonna do? Right? So them can lie to you. They just lie to you and tell you somebody have this design already, so I'm sorry. But they already copied your design, right? Because they tell you that they're going to review, and the process of reviewing is copying what you have. And once them copy what you have, what happen now? Them go on with it. Right? So when you gone now, them have somebody else learn what you put down and the information how your thing function, and that's it. You lose your idea, right? It's gone because it's not your people who care about you. They're not in charge. So they don't care less about your interests or what you came with. These are people who looking to take whatever you have because they know that you're creative. So they could find ways of stealing and robbing information from you. Because guess what? You are creative. So you're used to create things for them. Right? You're working before for them. Now they used you for whatever knowledge, whatever talent you have, they want to harvest that for themselves. So they'll find a way to take it. So you have to learn that. This is why I said people, we're not supposed to be together. We weren't meant to be together. Think about it. This is why we speak different language. Right? This is why we have different liking, and this is why we have different taste in things. This is why we don't see eye to eye, because we're not supposed to be together. You get me? Go look in the jungle for yourself. You see. You will see. The only time you see the animal them together in any is because of survival. Right? So if there's a means of survival to keep yourself alive, to prevent your people from being extinct, no, sometimes you have to walk along the others that you probably didn't want to walk along. Because, there's one thing in the minds of the survivors, right? Is to meet or to find common ground where there's no chaos, where people can get food and shelter and keep living. It'd be fruitless to be fighting. So you see the animal living in the jungle, they will go to this one water hole and they will drink there. Besides that, now everybody's turned predator and prey. You understand? Because they just don't live in the same space. So the lions stay by themselves, you see. The giraffe, them graze by themselves, and other herbivores are the animals that eat the same thing. You will see them in a close proximity, right? But they're not friends. They don't, even if them talk, we don't really know, right? But that's how it works. You understand what I'm saying to you? So this staying together thing doesn't benefit us much because we can't get to express our true feelings, our true ideas and bring them to light as we are supposed to, And that's basically, what it is. So I'm just giving you a small touch up to understand the background of our culture and some of the things that we do. And because we didn't spend time, right? We didn't spend time to learn about the things that we inherit, right? From our ancestors or our parents. We didn't question anything because we could say that, oh, we're just being obedient. We're trying to honor our parents and believe what they say is everything. You grew up, your parents is your first role model, right? You follow them, but you have to question things. You have to question their things that you need to question in order to understand what took place in the beginning, right? and this is where we at. What took place in the beginning? And this is where we at with the Bible. This information that is presented in this book, right? How did it, was it like this? Did it look like this with the commas, and you have question marks, you have period, you have, you have singular, you have, plural, you have, I mean, these things, you have verb, noun, adverbs. I mean, different things that are supposed to be in a modern language that probably didn't exist then, or that existed in another language that didn't belong in the language where this book was originally. And I want to say book, but the information was originally written in, right? So this Bible, as we spoke about it last week, and how it was compiled, right? And how valid is the information, and is there, because there was some great questions asked last week about the book, and a lot of people, believe this book, or they take this book for face value. They just said, this is the book. This is the foundation of their faith, of what they know, what they believe. And there is no question about it. Nobody asks any question whether or not anything in this book is valid, or the information that is, that's been given there, who does it relate to, right? Does it relate to everyone? Does it relate to some people? So, what or how we know which verse can be questioned in the book? Well, that's a good question. And there's a lot of verses that can be questioned. And as you see the title of the show, is the Bible the complete word of God? And when we're saying this, we're talking about, the book. If the complete book is actually the word, directly from the Creator himself. And the answer is no. No. And it's not all. And there are many verses, and there are many things that are changed in the book that you have to really question. Because, the terms are holidays, right? That you live in Western culture and other cultures around the world now in this modern space and time. Those are terms that we're taking from the book, right? Or the scrolls. I want to say scrolls because you had holy days, which later on in the English tongue become holiday. It seems more of the interpretation of jolly day. These days was holy days where you had to do things that were holy. It wasn't against your principles. You understand me? And acting out of place as what you're seeing today in modern society. When people get time and certain amount of freedom, how they just go out and do all kinds of ungodly things and things that they're not supposed to do just because this moment represents something, a kind of celebration for them. But there are a lot of verses in the book. So we have holidays in English and we have holy days. Now there's a prayer in the book, the Our Father prayer that was given. We said, Our Father who art in heaven, right? And there's a word called hallowed be thy name. Now, this word's supposed to mean sacred, be thy name, right? And this is a prayer that you're giving thanks. So common sense would have to tell you, if when whoever translate and put these words in it, and believe me, they keep translating and retranslating and changing, and because now they're reading now, and they're going back through the information, and they're learning that the new people, or the people, this generation of people, is not going to fall for these things. And whoever is trying to change and to hide whatever truth, now they have to go back to reaffirm their lies. So they will go back to the book, and the next translation would be, okay, we need to change this because this is giving too much. It's revealing too much. We don't want this, so let's change it. And that's what's happening now. So we have the Our Father prayers that is said hallowed, and then hallowed is something completely different from, you know, when you read the book and understand how the elders in heaven, the book speak about the elders in heaven in Revelation, you go there and they're saying, holy be unto God, holy be unto God. So then hallowed is simply a misunderstanding of what the word's supposed to be. You understand? And just giving you an idea of how many different scriptures in the book that doesn't give you the full context of what it is. So when you're saying hallowed, sacred be, not supposed to, you're praising, you're giving praises to God. So it cannot be hallowed, right? Which is a sacred thing, right? It can't be sacred. Sacred be thy name. His name is not sacred. His name is supposed to be praised. It's supposed to be, right? Supposed to be worship and sing his name and pray to his name. So how sacred is thine? Our Father who art in Zion, sacred be your name. No, praises be your name would be the common thing to say, or holy be thy name, which is the, so you understand how these things are changed. So when you're saying these prayers using the word hallowed, you're not getting any connection to your Father, your Creator, because you're not relating whatever this information is to that, that entity or that, that person. Something else is there that's throwing everything off. So the energy is not flowing how it's supposed to, right? So there are many verses that are not valid in the book. Many verses, and of course, as we continue this program on the naked truth, we're going to go through a lot of things because the book is it's very vast in information. So we definitely have to go through the book and kind of give you a lot of clarity on many of these scriptures that are not valid. And I'm sure a lot of people read it, but because it's a foundation of their faith, they dismissed it because they don't want to believe that this very thing they believe in is a complete lie. Right? So because they don't understand how to interpret the scriptures, they now will say, forget about that, or they'll find some justification for that particular part. But yeah, there are a lot of scriptures there that are invalid and non relating to the Creator. Sometimes feel that if questioned, sometimes that really from the Creator would be offensive or improper to do so. Question sometime that really from the Creator would be offensive or improper. And I'm trying to understand this question. You mean improper? If there's a question, from the Most High, right? Or questions that are asked from the Most High, are the Most High who's asking questions if they're improper. And I want to understand, what do you mean improper, unoffensive? Because people today, because they don't live by the book, because this book wasn't a part of their culture, many things that are said and the restrictions and the rules in the book, right, it would be hard for them to follow. Right? So they'll take some of what is written there out of context. People who this information wasn't revealed to, or this information was never given to, they now will take this information, it will be offensive to them. The verse in the book, like which verse now? What verse in the book? Because people will be offended, especially when you talk about Sodom and Gomorrah, and because you have today, homosexuals who are fighting for a place to be what they want to be, right? Within this society, now it doesn't translate, in any favor to them reading this book or reading that particular, story or verse from this Bible, right? So, and if that doesn't, correlate with them, they will say that, it's offensive, or they will use other terms to describe that. Or it's improper. I mean, the word improper is just, it's maybe a neutral word there, right? But offense people will gain from information that they don't understand, right? Or because it's not a part of what they're used to or a part of their lifestyle, like it will be offended to them. This is why you have clashings of the cultures, right? Because sometimes you have to come and you have to adapt to something to understand it. Just going to another country like Russia and they speak a different language, they do things different from a person who speaks English. You might use words that you use in your country to call things or to label things that is very offensive in that language, right? And this will create problems. This is why I told you before, people together, this together thing that you're trying to sow these seeds like we all need to be. No, we don't. We do not. It has to be for the choice of those people who want to or actually want to do that, should, by your choice. But overall, even if there's a place where there's a great melting pot or there's a city that there's a great melting pot where different people from different culture and different, background and ethnic background and whatever, they live there by choice. You go there because you say, okay, this is a good city. I feel like I can go there. It's multi, it's cultural, it's diverse. You can go there and you can have your time there. I mean, what if we questioning, right, in the book, and that was actually from the Most High, then would it be improper to do that? Well, of course it would, and this is why. Well, see, and we don't know which part is fabricated. So, well, what if we are saying some things that the Most High actually said, and we're saying that's not what it is? Well, that's a good question, because then we would be fools. See, the Most High is a very, I don't want to say, let me say this consciousness, right? This consciousness, this great consciousness that put all things in existence, right? It's very intelligence beyond what we think intelligence is, right? It's far beyond our thinking, right? This consciousness, right? People who resonate with the truth, right? And people who use their common sense will only see that which is, right, put in place by him, because our common sense, right, would be the foundation of learning things, how we understand things, how we break things down without going to school, without learning from other people. But so these mechanisms exist within man, right? We can use that to determine which direction, what we need, how do we need. So the mind is a very powerful thing. He gave this to us. So there's no way to go wrong unless we decide that we want to do that. Unless we ignore. So most of the time when you read the book, people ignore the facts. It's not like they don't see it. They see it, but they try to ignore it because it doesn't align with what they believe. So it wouldn't be a point where we didn't see that, okay, the Most High did say this. It would be obvious if the Most High did say something, we would have known what it was, right? The way that it was scripted, the way that it was written, we would have seen and know that, okay, well, yes, somebody did say this. You understand? But we're talking about fabrication, and you're talking about spiritual connection to things. And when you begin to connect spiritually, you begin to understand a lot more about what you are getting into in the physical world and how you relate, how you connect to things. You begin to understand it. So, as I said, there are many scriptures that are not 100% legitimate. And because it's not, it doesn't mean that there's not scriptures there that are actually legitimate, that are really giving you some understanding. See, we can read and we can understand this, and we can determine as we read which part of the book was saying what, because we can align these things with what's happening today. Right? So if you read the book, you can align it with what's going on today. You can understand that, right? And it's very simple when we understand what's happening in the world today, right? And what used to happen based on what we have read in the book, as far as the prophets I know they go around and they had this ability to heal the blind and to the sick, even raise the dead, right? Because remember Elijah, right? Elijah actually brought back a young boy. Was a young boy to life? Let me see if you remember that in the scriptures. So these things are not happening today. Why? Okay. That's a good question to ask. Why aren't these things happening as they used to, as we read about them in this book? This is how you're going to understand whether or not anything is valid about this book, because you're going to read information and the things that it's saying from that time to such time now, whether or not any of these information connect with anything that is happening around you. Do you see it? You know, do you see the things that were said or was written in this particular book? Do you see any of those things happening? You know, and when we begin to read and understand that, then we can start to figure out, okay, well, it did say this, and we have seen this happen, right? Many people say, oh, the world was going to end in 2000, right? Because the book said the world is going to end, right? Or God is coming back, and people have certain time that they're doing this. Who know how long people before that was thinking the same thing, right? But they said the world is going to end in 2000. Everybody was buying canned goods and all kind of different things. People was, a lot of people were afraid. They didn't know the outcome, what it was going to be, if it was going to be, and so nothing that they say, because I believe not the book, but somebody predicted that. I don't remember who it was, that the world is going to would be ended in 2000. But it didn't, right? But we have seen things that you can align with the book, and you'll understand. Well, you see that these men were studying very well and understanding life and understand the nature of men, and know that men are capable of doing certain things, and at a certain time they're capable. So the result would practically be similar as that generation before us that passed on. So this generation that comes wouldn't go too far out of the context of the others that were before them. So we can always use this and try to determine whether or not it is so, right? Were these men, wise enough to foresee or to foresaw these things before they happen? So, and are we wise enough to foresee these things as well? So we have to compare them, and we have to compare ourselves within the modern space that we live now, to understand whether or not we have those capabilities to actually do these things that the ancestors did before, right? Yes, so Elijah lay on top of the boy there, and that time he prayed to the Lord, and the boy lived again. Exactly. So these miracles, right, and these encounter that we've read about in this book, we haven't seen it didn't happen. And why wouldn't it happen? Why would question this? So it happened then. We haven't seen it happen, right? But we know the people that usually do these things. It wasn't everybody, right? It wasn't the people that were living outside. It was a group of people that were doing these things, right? And why wouldn't we see them today? Because the very people that the book was given to, the very people that the laws were given to, are no longer. Right? These people are no longer in a position of power to do anything anymore, because they lost their identity because of why? Disobedience. So this would raise questions. Say, okay, well, then if Israel was falling from grace, then we wouldn't be able to see the things or witness these things that we read about, these people doing in the past time. You wouldn't see them today, because the people that are are supposed to be the people of God, are the chosen people, they're no longer in the area that they live anymore. They're scattered among the people. So you wouldn't be able to see these miracles, people coming back to life, the blind seeing. I mean, these things, you would never see them today. The only time you would see this, and this is where we're gonna try to add the information up and kind of summarize the information so you understand, right? That you wouldn't see them because there's nobody to do them. And if the law was given, and if there is a people that were more connected with the Most High, then it only shows you today in this modern time that the other group of people, just like the book has said, they are not connected to him because they aren't able, even though they're not in what you call oppression. These people, they are the nations. Are they suffering? Are they under oppression? Are they in captivity? No, they're free to do things. Yet there is one thing that they cannot do. They cannot perform the miracles that the Israelites perform because they are not the Israelites. And the Israelites are not empowered where they're are living by the law that they were supposed to be living by. But as the book explained to us, that they will be scattered, right? And this is how we have to determine who these people are, right? So we have to go back to the origin to understand that. And when we go back to the origin, then we're going to realize, oh, okay. So because these people are not around, we're not seeing these things. Who are these people? Now you have to go back to the book because the truth about these people exists. How do we know this? Because the truth about them exists. So this is where you're going to do your research. You go back to the origin to find out whether or not and who these people are. And when you would start to go back now to find these information out, then we're going to see that, oh, now I see. Because somehow, right, whatever has been written in this book, if it is valid, right, then we'll be able to understand, right, and align this information with what's happening or what the book said that will be happening, right? And if we cannot do that, it just means something is wrong. That means that scripture cannot be valid, right? So we're gonna go to just to give an idea, right? Because the book speak about, and let's so let's go to Jeremiah, right, 17 verse 4, right? Let's see. Like, this Bible is so good, man. I like this book. Okay, so let's go to, where is it? You have it here, like the list missing from here. Okay. So, it's a lot. We're gonna go to maybe I should use the other book because this book here. Let me just pull this information up for a second here. So we said it's Jeremiah, right? 17. And so, if you guys have your Bible, you can take it out and let's read together. Right? Where is it? Okay. The thing was hidden here. All right. All right. So, all right. Let's go to, where is it? Jeremiah 17. Let's find it. Let's find it. Okay, 17 I said. Okay. Chapter 4. So, so we can read from Jeremiah. We can start from 1 if we want, but let's go to chapter 4, right? All right, now let's start from 3. Oh, my mountains in the field, right? I will give thy substance and all thy treasures to the spoil. and thy high places for sin throughout all thy borders. So this basically is telling them that the Most High speaking this is going to give, their cities, all their substance, everything, all their riches, all everything that they have to a spoil, for some other nation to come and take it, right? All thy high places and thy borders. So, I mean, all their surrounding, wherever they would be or wherever they would live. And thou even thyself shall discontinue from thine heritage that I gave thee. I will cause, right, thee to serve thine enemies in the land which thou knowest not. For he have kindled a fire in my anger, in mine anger which shall burn forever. So now we understand this, that Israel, the people, because of their stiff-necked and their ways, they would be discontinued from their heritage. And what they have would be giving us a spoil, meaning that someone else would come in and take, the spoils. Spoils is whatever is left back from war or whatever. So the spoils of war is basically whatever riches, whatever treasure, whatever house, whatever palace, wives, whatever they wanted, that would be the spoil. They would take that. So the Most High say he will do that. Even the borders, their borders will be able to be infiltrated at that time. And they will discontinue from their heritage. So basically, we have seen that these people will be discontinued at a certain time from their heritage. It means that they would lost their identity. They wouldn't know, because your heritage, you know what your heritage is, right? So you wouldn't know yourself anymore. You wouldn't know who you are, where you belong, who you belong to. You understand? So you would claim, a person that is lost would claim everything else outside that they are. And this is why when you look at, black people within the diaspora, right? And around the world, they are all grabbing onto something, right? Do you realize that? They said they're Islam, they said they're Christianity, they said they're Rastafarians, some of them said they're Egyptologists or they're Egyptians, and they're this and they're that, and all of these different things, because why? A person that is lost, do you understand what I'm saying? They would be claiming these things. And they're saying this more than any other nation on the planet. I'm not talking about people that's trying to claim, to be Jews, right? Because it's a more popular thing that people want to be a part of, right? Especially reading this book and understanding the benefits, right, of being, an Israelite. They would have want that. So other people, of course, would have want these things. So they would have reached out to try to obtain that. So I'm not talking about, besides that, the things that these people are gravitating to. It shows you who they are today. So if you're reading, you would understand this. So that would be Jeremiah 17, chapter 4. And thou, even thyself, shall discontinue from thine heritage, that I gave thee. So whatever the Most High gave you, it will take it back from you, because you have angered a fire in him forever. Thou said the Lord, cursed be the man, and this is chapter 5, that trusted in man, and maketh flesh his arms, and whose heart departed from the Lord. For he shall be like, the heath in the desert, and shall not see when good cometh, but shall inhabit the parched place in the wilderness, and salt land and not inhabited. Blessed is the man that trusted in the Lord, whose hope the Lord is. And we can go on and on with the scriptures as we read through. But you understand, a person or a nation of people were discontinued from their heritage. It means that they're completely lost. They're unaware of what's going on. They don't know who they are. They can't identify themselves, right? So that's basically one point as we read Jeremiah 17 verse 4 there. Now we have to go to, because we're trying to understand, right? And we're comparing what's happening with with some of the things that's going on today, right? And whether or not these things have been fulfilled according to what the book is saying, right? According to what the book is saying, right? We're trying to figure out, okay, well, now the book tells us that some people or a group of people been discontinued. Do we look around for ourselves? Do we see that today? Do we see is there any evidence to prove whether or not they are a group of people that we can literally point and say, well, these people look like they don't know who they are, right? And remember, not only that it said that they'll be discontinued, but it said, "O my mountains in the field, I will give thy substance and all thy treasures to the spoil, and thy high places for sin throughout all thy borders." I mean, throughout all wherever they live, all their borders, this will happen, right? So, but first, because I want to give you guys context, we're going to go to the 17 and go to the first, just to understand. We went to chapter 4, but let's go to Jeremiah 17 and start at the first chapter, right? And listen what it's saying. So you have to pay attention now by aligning these information with what's going on today. The sin of Judah is written with a pen of iron, right? And with the point of a diamond. It is graven upon the table of their heart and upon the horns of your altars. So the sin of Judah, it is written in their heart. The sins, it's graven, mean it's carved there in something that cannot just go away that easy. Will their children remember their altars and their groves by the green trees upon the high hills? So it's asking them, would their children remember the altars upon the green hill and the green pastures? Would the children of these people that live now remember it? Oh, my mountains in the field, I will. So this is when it said, go to chapter 3 now, where it still said they'll be giving for a spoil. Because will your children remember? No, they wouldn't be there again. They wouldn't live in this area to have a culture, to carry the custom and the tradition on. They will be taken away from there. They will be discontinued, so they won't know what's going on. Right? So that's what, just to give you some context on that so you guys can understand it. Right? No, so we have to begin to align these things with present time and what's going on in the present moment with us. And we have to look around on all the people and not the people, but the families in the earth, and to understand who is going through the things that this book, right? This book is trying to explain to us, giving prophecies and speaking things about. There's a group of people that was scattered among the nations. There's a group of people that were sold according to the book, right? In slavery, right? They were sold as bondmen and bondwomen, right? So there's a group of people that was treated a certain way, right? Uniquely from other groups of people. Of course, there are a lot of people who are going to say, oh, everybody was slave. The term slave, right, came from the word salvic. So the Salvics they said they were the weakest group of people. So everybody used to go and take them as slave. But the Bible speak about bondsmen and bondwomen, mean that you're into bondage, right? Which is the same thing. So the term is a modern term, but when you say you shall go into bondage again, or you shall go into Egypt again, Egypt is synonymous with bondage, because that's where the Egyptians were. So in a metaphorical way speaking, he said, you shall go to Egypt again, this time with ships, where I speak unto you, see it no more. Right? So he was using these terms, or these what you call metaphors, in explaining, right, what would happen in the latter days, right? And this is where we are now, right? When we're talking about the latter days, this is where we are now. So people who are studying, people who are honest within themselves, people who have goodness in them should recognize, and a lot of them do, but because there is a people that's been rejected and treated. Just like the book said, the stone that the builder refused will be the head. The very stone that they tossed aside and say it's nothing, that stone will be needed in the end. You understand what I'm saying to you? So there is a people that's been treated a certain way, different from the other groups of people on the planet, among the families of the earth. You have to look into that yourself. It's very obvious that the people who are wealthy and are living good have no time to even think about that, or don't want to talk about it because it doesn't benefit them anything to talk about it. So how do we validate the information is by understanding what's happening outside, right? What's going on, right? What's really happening? Is there a group of people that seems to lost their identity, that seems to not know what they're doing or what's going on or what to be a part of? Is there such a people that exists today that's supposed to be a nation of people, right? Is there such a people in this time? You understand what I'm saying to you? Is there such a people that you know, that anybody out there who are tuning in to the live right now, that you have observed? Yes. Yes, good evening, sir. Yeah, we are continuing with the topic from last week. So, it's we're continuing from what we left off from last week, trying to, bring some clarity to the information. So is there anyone that we know? This is how we're going to identify if this book, right, is actually valid based on, the text, right? Based on the context. So we have to go back within ourselves and observe the things around us. See, we could say whatever we want because, if you're looking for something and it doesn't suit you, like walking in the wilderness looking for food and you didn't find food, you find something else, it wouldn't be of interest to you. You want what you want. And if that's not a part of what you want, then it wouldn't be of any interest to you at all, right? So you would walk past that and just to find what you want to find. But that doesn't mean that you didn't saw it. Doesn't mean that you didn't see this very thing that you passed. And you didn't for a minute think, okay, oh, this is what this is. But you ignore because that's not what you're looking for, right? So a lot of people who read this Bible, they're trying to be included in what's here, what is written here. So you find Christians try to sway their way into the book because it's a religion that came about after the fall of the Hebrew Israelites. And then this religion now begin to replace who the Israelites are. I mean, that's their teaching. That's their doctrine. Basic Christian doctrine is to tell you, no, Israel don't exist anymore, right? That's what they're telling you, that Israel doesn't exist. So this is why when we talk about the validity of the book and how valid this information is, us as readers, researchers, and people who study and trying to know the truth, we have to begin to align the information with what's going on in today's time by looking around on the groups, as I said, the family of the earth, and see, right? I'm not talking about people who are suffering because they're hungry. There's a particular and a unique situation that is happening to a group of people. And when I said unique, it's very unique, that it cannot be compared to other groups, because the Most High is not a God of confusion. So it doesn't matter what, you had to go through exactly what he said that you would have gone through. You had to face the atrocity that he actually said that you would have faced. This would be the reality of what, the prophecy is. So that word, the true word of the Most High, would stand with the people, whether it's in good faith or bad faith. But for his word to come to pass, it had to stand on them the way that he said that it would. So this is where we can take people telling us about the Bible based on their feelings and their inclusion, right? Because we're now thinking that this book was written and it was given to all people of the earth. And it's not so. It was never given to anyone on the earth except, and let me clarify that it wasn't a book. This was information that these people, this family, this nation of people who lived and were chosen by God and become a nation later on, living, following the customs, the laws of the Most High, They wrote down things about themselves. They documented their experience, their history, whatever happened to them. They had encounter, right, with spiritual beings. They got information from these things. They got information from their creator, and they wrote these things on scrolls, right? So I just want to clarify that first. But the book explained to us what would have happened to these people, that they would have discontinued, as I've read before in Jeremiah 17, verse 4. And for someone to discontinue from their earth, it means that they have lost everything, right? They wouldn't know themselves. They couldn't identify themselves, basically, right? So we understand that. So, as we go further, yeah, people do suffer. Yes, and that was the question from last week. Why did God find it necessary to take his people out of Egypt? And that was a very interesting question, because we were talking that just before we leave. And the Most High work in mysterious ways, in mysterious ways. Because remember, it was Abram first, right? And then we had Isaac, the promise. So the promise started out with Abraham, right? And his seed, one of his seed was chosen. So it wasn't Ishmael, which Ishmael was the first son, the son of Hagar. We had Isaac, the second son, which is the son of Rebekah, right? So there's two women involved in the story. So one was the handmaid, and the other was his wife, which was Sarah, right? And they produced a child. I presume it's in when she was older in age, because when the angel visited her, these energy beings visit her and told her about bearing a child. She was laughing. She didn't think it was possible, right? So the encounter that Abraham had was with these other groups, with people outside. They didn't become a nation as yet, right? They were never a nation as yet, but they were chosen when they were only one, until they become two and three, and as they were growing in numbers, right? So it was Abraham first, then Isaac, right? And then Jacob, right? So the promise keep going down to these important figures, as you've read in the book. This is it, because remember, the book has told us that, and let me press this down for a second. The Bible told us, right, that God chose, he had a chosen people, right, that he chose to be above all people upon the face of the earth, right? It wasn't a punishment, basically, but it was a time for him to reveal himself unto the people as they were multiplied and they were great in numbers when they were in Egypt. Because remember, there was 12 sons, right, that went into Egypt. And when they went to Egypt at this time, it was Joseph, right? That was one of the sons who had to took the other brothers into Egypt, right? And then they were good. They didn't go to Egypt as slaves, right? They went there and they were living there, right? But they were different from the other groups of people that live in Egypt at the time. They kept themselves to themselves. They did things in the community, but they stayed to themselves. So the Egyptians knew who they were and knew that they were not Egyptians and that they were different. So when Joseph had a relationship with the Pharaoh, and it was good. He became governor of Egypt at the time. So he were able to move his brothers and father into there, and they multiplied there. They multiply and become a people or a nation, right, within Egypt. And this was the first time. This encounter now was when the Creator was going to reveal himself to them and show them his power and show them how much he cared for them and what he would do to protect them. Because remember, they were chosen. And all this time, it wasn't a lot of them. It was just Abraham, right? And then it was Isaac, right? And then it go down the line. You understand? So this promise went down from one to the other, and as they multiply, they becoming that which, they begin to expand in this larger group, right? This happened only in Egypt. This is where the beginning, right, the origin of the Hebrew Israelite story begin was in Egypt. And the Most High stretched his arms out and deliver them to show them that, see, what I'm doing for you. And then he established them with laws, with statutes and commandments after. So this was his first encounter with the people that he have chosen. That was one, that turned into two, that turned into 10 and 5 and 50,000, right? Until they become a nation of people later on, right? So he chose them and he showed them his power. So even when they leave the Egypt and was going through the wilderness, it was 40 days and 40 nights in the wilderness. For 40 years, I'm saying, they lived in the wilderness before they got to the land that was promised to them. And he would have this cloud, as you read the Bible, that would show them the way while they were walking. So he was exhibiting his power. And this is why when Moses got sinned, it's because Moses told Moses to strike the rock a certain way. And Moses went against that and did something else. And he disobeyed because God wanted for him to be obedient to him and do exactly what he said. Moses did something else that he should have never did. He went against the Most High, and the Most High said, well, you're not going to leave this wilderness. You won't make it to the promised land. You won't go out there. And this, Moses understood that. It was because he disobeyed and he tried to do something else different from what the Creator said. It was the Creator himself who lead them out, right? Guiding Moses to bring them together and to take them out of Egypt. He wanted to exhibit his power to them, to show them how mighty of a God he is and how powerful he is and how much he loved them that he would do anything to destroy their enemy to protect them. And that's what he did. And this is how they were taken out of Egypt, so that they would know their God. Then they didn't know, but they would know their God from that moment, right? For the first time. And this is what happened to the Israelites in Egypt. So now it's not complex. I don't want to say it is complex. The way that we understand the scriptures and the way that we dedicate ourselves to what we know. Sometimes we're reading the book, and a lot of people majority of people reading the Bible, and they take everything literally. And the reason why they do that, and when you take everything literally, there are things that they run into, are traps, or scriptures that doesn't align with things, and now because they went in the book just believing in something before they actually read the book. So they're reading the book to support their beliefs, or whichever God they think they're serving. So you find that a lot of people get misled, with the information here. So their first encounter was in that large group of people was when they were in Egypt, and they were the exodus from Egypt into the promised land, or the land that was promised to them by the Creator. But you have to remember, before that, you had Abraham. Abraham had encounter with different angels and different beings, but the people, the conglomerate of people, they didn't have that experience. They have heard, they were taught to live good because of Abraham and his descendants and those who carry on the mantle, the righteous mantle, and pass it down to them. So they knew this. So this is why when even Moses went into Egypt, he gave Moses three miracles to perform in order to win the children of Israel over, to carry them out, so they would believe him that their God was going to come to deliver them. So it was turning the rod into a serpent and turning the water into blood. But then Pharaoh was challenging, right? He was challenging. So even if you read in the process of Pharaoh challenging, why he was challenging, because the Most High hardened his heart. Just like today, the nations around us, their hearts or hardened. You'd ask a person from another nation, ask them why do they hate the people that are dark melanated skin or the dark skinned people that they call black. Ask them why they hate them, and and just listen to what answer they will give to you. They don't know. A lot of them don't know why. They just don't like you. You understand what I'm saying to you? They just don't like you. Why? Because the Most High is going to pull that veil over their eyes. Because the enemies, our enemies, the children of Israel enemies, where they were scattered and living in captivity to this very day, the Most High said he's going to deliver them and he's going to destroy their enemies. And if he's going to do that, that's his word, the very things that he did to Pharaoh. Because Pharaoh, even when Pharaoh said, okay, they could go, then Pharaoh changed his mind. Why did Pharaoh change? Because the Most High wanted to destroy them. Because, as he said before, the other people, they are nothing to him. Right? He said, they don't know me and I don't know them. You understand what I'm saying? This is why Israel was chosen as a peculiar people unto the Most High, to do whatever the Most High say. This is why they get punished when they disobey him. This is why the other nation get away with things. And they do whatever they want, and they gallivant, and they party, and they do all kinds of ungodly things. And you look at them today in this world and say they're succeeding, right? Because they have material wealth, they have all kinds of different things. You say that. The Most High didn't visit them with stripe yet. Because there is a time that was given to them, and such time will be up. That time will be up. Yes, we were taught to believe everything in the book. That's the idea. The idea, if a person lost their identity or were discontinued, you have to remember, even before Columbus came to the Americas, the Bible was the key information, right, that they had, and they knew where the Israelites were. They knew everything about them. They studied them long ago before they even came to the West. So they knew who the children of Israel were. They knew who they were. And I'm talking about, if you go into deep history, you could get that yourself. If you do your research, you will see that. So it's not like they didn't know. They know who they were. So, of course, if you lost your identity, you don't know who you are, right? And I'm sure this is a slow sifting process, right? It would just happen just like that. So you talk about time and the next generation, and slowly everything will go until it's all gone, till you have no connection to what your ancestors left behind, to who you were. How do you connect yourself with anything here? You understand? So it would be a process. So if the enemies knew that you lost your identity and they were studying you, they would have never taught you anything that was good. These are things that people with common sense need to ask themselves. Why the very people that murdered, raped, killed your ancestors, hung you, right, for fun, tie you on a tree, hung you, right, do whatever sorts of wickedness, burn you, and not only that, bring their children, their times at school, right? School were out for the day. No, we have a nigger to hang. Nobody go to school. Everybody come, because this was a spectacle, right? And everybody comes out and they watched you. The very people that did that to you, you believe within your hearts today, the descendants of slave I'm talking to, all the descendants that live within the diaspora, you believe that the very people have your interests at heart. You believe their descendants are their ancestors, and they are the descendants of their ancestors, that they're different. Does it seem that they're different? Do you believe that they will teach you that which is going to make you better? Does it look like they wanted to have equality with you? Are you fighting for equality? A person that's supposed to be a human being, right? Fighting for equality in a place where you live. Don't you get it? Don't you people understand what's happening here? They would not volunteer information to you. You better figure it out yourself. They will tell you whatever they want to tell you. And if you believe it, they will, okay, they're taking it. You're swallowing it. So they'll keep enforcing it, reinforcing this lie for you to believe it more and more. Yeah. So that's how it is. You know, it's a very dangerous thing for them when the people, the actual people that will wake up one day, and this book speak about it, and this is why we're talking about this, because we're trying to understand, right? And we're trying to validate information here. And when I said validate, we have to compare the information to see who actually, from what the book is saying, have gone through the things, right, that the book said that would happen to them, are the very things that is continually happening to them to this very day. Who is going through that? Which group of people are out of place, don't have a place to say home? Who's been governed by someone that doesn't look like them? Do you understand what I'm saying to you? We're scattered among the nations. You'll suffer wherever you're scattered. That's what you will be facing. And all of these people will face the same thing. Wherever they are scattered, among the people that they're scattered, would treat them the same way, because this is the word of the Most High. And again, you want to know the truth? You can do that on your own. You can take your camera and you go to all the countries that you know that there are black people that you call Africans people. Go there and ask them about their experience within the country that they live. They will tell you. They will tell you how they've been marginalized and how they've been treated. They will tell you that. I mean, go to every country. Just do that on your own and you will see for yourself. So this is not something that I'm making up. I'm telling you. The prophecy that was said, it pertained to a certain people. It pertained to a certain group of people. And it can only be so, and uniquely to a certain group of people. It cannot fit multiple generation, or multiple, not generation, but multiple nations. It can only fit one group of people, because the Most High said it. Unless whatever he's saying doesn't make sense or it's a lie, then you would see all kinds of confusion. But look around for yourself and ask yourself, which other group are going through the same thing that this group is going through? And you will understand the truth there. So you say, what's this? Documents of family history. Well, there are a lot of people have documents about their family history. Some is true, some is fabricated. I mean, you know, you never can tell. But the overall thing is establishing the truth, right? Now, we have seen, as we have read in Jeremiah 17, verse 4, that the children of Israel will be discontinued. It means that they will no longer continue in what God has given them. So their heritage, everything that was given to them, will be taken away. So there'll be a people that do not know themselves. They will be lost, and they will call themselves American, Jamaican, Barbadian, Trinidadian, all kinds of Guatemalan, Panamanian, all these different things they will call themselves, because they're not, but they doesn't fit the population, or they doesn't fit those group of people who are ruling, or the ruling power. They don't fit. It means that you're under the rulership of another nation. I mean, that's not you, because you don't look like them. You don't look like people in Panama. Don't look like the other group of people that's the governor and the ruler of Panama. The people in Mexico and other places, they don't look like the ruling class. So it means that they're subject to the ruling class. So we have to learn that. So we get, you know, we talk about, you know, what is the promise? And when we read the book, we got to understand that, right? What is the promise? So the Most High has said that there are things that will happen to them. So we read Jeremiah 17. So if we go to Deuteronomy 28 through 68, right? And I keep saying that because I want people to actually read Deuteronomy 28 and try to get some understanding of what the scripture is saying, you know, because this is how you're going to understand what's going on and some of the things that are happening to you, right? So Deuteronomy 28, right? Let me find that. Through 68. And this is where we got to find some kind of clarity, right? Let me find this. Let me find it 1 second here. So Deuteronomy 28 through 68, right? And we're going to read. Where is it? We're going to read it's the blessings and the curse, right? So we're talking about the blessings and the curse. So, Deuteronomy 28 through 68. So I'm just giving you a brief part of this. It said, "And it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe, and to do all his commandments, which he command this day, that the Lord thy God will send thee on high. He will set thee on high, right, above all nations of the earth. And all these blessings shall come upon thee, and overtake thee, if thou shalt hearken unto the voice of the Lord your God. Blessed shall be thou in the city, and blessed shall thou be in the field." So your blessing will increase in every way. No more suffering, no more nothing. "The Lord shall establish an holy people unto himself, as he had sworn unto thee, if thou shalt keep the commandments of the Lord thy God." So, you have to keep the commandment in order to inherit any of these things, right? Because you were already chosen, but this is why you have to live to the rules. You have to follow the rules. And as you read through, 29 and go down, you're gonna see everything there. So let's go to 16. No, I mean, sorry, 15. Let's go to Deuteronomy 28:15. So we read the blessing. You have to read through the blessing. So I'll just give you the first part there. So 15, "But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken." Now this is the curse. If you're not listening unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and to do all his commandments, right, and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. So the blessing will come if you follow the commandments and you live to the statutes and commandment. The curse will come if you don't. So there are two options he gave to them, that if you follow this, everything will be okay. Now, apparently, if they were following the commandments and living to the commandments, right, then Israel today, right, or where we call Israel, which is supposedly be the land of the promised land for these people, right, they would have never left the land. They would have never been expelled from the land. It means that the curse existed, right? That means this is how we're validating the scriptures now, right? So, but if it was, there wouldn't be that these Jewish people going back into Israel and trying to get rid of the people that are there, and they want to take the land in 1948, and they're trying to go back, the right to return, right? If they were doing well, then the temple would have never been destroyed, right? So all of these things would have never happened. So this means that the curse, right, is what's in effect now. So not the blessings anymore, Because if the blessings were, everybody and the nations, the family of the earth would have known that, okay, Israel is there. They would have known that these people were there and nothing has happened to them, and they would have been living, right? They would have been having what they had. They would have been prospering, as the book has explained to you from 28, right? And they would have everything and be above all the nation, and everybody would have to go to them, right? For anything, right? Said you shall lend unto the other nation, but they shall not lend unto you, right? Because you'll have enough to give to share among the other nations, right? And the other people. So apparently, the idea of the children of Israel being in the land to this day, they were never there. We would have known it. Everybody would have known it. There wouldn't be a right to return. There wouldn't be none of this because they would have been already in the land, living, prospering, doing God's work. You understand me? Following his laws, statutes, and commandments. So apparently now we're talking about the curse. The curse is in effect because the people are not in the land. Somehow they got kicked out of the land because if you go back in history, we're talking about 70 AD when Jerusalem went again, when the Romans went against Jerusalem. Even the Messiah prophesied about that as well. And they killed and slaughtered everyone that was there who they could have killed, and that was it. That was the last, what you call, insurrection, right? And this happened. And people died. And the place became unstable ever since because the prophecy was against that. That if they didn't listen, they didn't follow the laws, statutes, commandments, then these things would have happened to them. Greetings to everyone that's coming in. Right? So these things would have happened to them if they didn't, right? If they didn't follow the rules, right? Follow the laws, the statutes, the commandments, they would have faced everything that was bad. Exactly. And you're right, my brother. Yeah, white Jewish people say that those verses are about them. Indeed, they do say that. Indeed, they say that. But this is why we're trying to validate things here, because I want people to understand this, that the Most High Word is true. If you believe that the Creator created you and I, and we're here existing, living, and we're having a conversation this very moment, the Most High does not lie. He doesn't change his word. This is why he gave them a warning, right? And the warning was there would be a blessing, there would be a curse. And everything was expressed, everything was explained what would take place in the latter days. They would have known this. And 2 nations cannot fit the prophecy. 3 nations cannot fit the prophecy. It will only be 1 nation, 1 group of people that will fit the exact prophecy that this book is saying. So it's very simple. You don't have to debate with other people based on what they say. You just have to look for yourself to understand who the curse fits and who is going through the curse today. Because the curse is not up, because it won't be up until the last days, right? This is when the curse will be lifted. And the Bible tells us when this curse is lifted, or when Israel begin to find themselves, that the curse is going to fall on their enemies. So someone would be cursed. Someone would be living a life that is not very good in the end. Because when these people wake up and start to live and start to go by the law, then all of these things will take place in the end. So these things didn't happen. And of course, I understand you, my brother, that Jewish people today say, that the curse are about them, or this verse is about them, the blessings on the curse. Of course they would say that, but we could identify who the curse actually as we go further in the book. So the Bible tells us that curse shall be the fruit of thy body, and this is 18. I'm just trying to run through this. Curse shall thou be when thou comest in, and curse shall thou be when thou goest out. The Lord shall send upon thee curse and vexation and rebuke in all that thou settest thine hand unto, for to do, until thou be destroyed, and until thou perish quickly, because of the wickedness of thy doings, whereby thou hast forsaken me. We have forgotten about the Creator. We didn't want to. We didn't want to serve God. We didn't want to do those things. So now the Lord shall make the pestilence cleave unto thee until he have consumed thee from off the land, whither thou goest to possess it. Anywhere did they go? This is why when they went into Spain and into Portuguese and this way, they were kicked out of there. And we could get into that issue later on. The Lord shall smite thee with the consumption, right? You know what the consumption is. And with a fever, and with an inflammation, and with an extreme burning, and with the sword, and with blasting, and with mildew, and whatever mildew is, then maybe it's not the same thing now. And they shall pursue thee until thou perish, and thy heavens that is over thy head shall be brass, and the earth that is under thee shall be iron. The Lord shall make the rain of thy land powder, and dust from the heaven shall it come down upon thee until thou be destroyed. The Lord shall curse thee to be smitten before thine enemies. Thou shalt go out one way against them, and flee 7 ways before them, and shall be removed in all kingdoms of the earth. Now, you understand this, my brother? They shall removed into all kingdoms of the earth. It means they will be taken into all kingdoms of the earth from that particular place that they were before. Not only that, they will be discontinued. It means that they won't have what you call Torah. They won't have these things, right? They won't have these things to remind them of anything. That they said the Jewish people say that they have the Torah from such time unto this time. It was passed down from generation. It means that they have never discontinued from their heritage according to the voice or the words of the Most High. So then the Most High will be lying according to the scriptures. Did you understand what I'm saying? He would be lying according to the scriptures if we should go there. Right? And shall be removed into all kingdoms of the earth. And thy carcass shall be meat unto all fowls of the air, and unto the beast of the earth, and no man shall fray them away. It means that during the time when they murdered and killed, they took your dead body, and they tossed it in the field, in the jungle somewhere, right? And birds come and they pick your eye out, and they do whatever they do, and whatever thing comes out of your body, they eat it, and whatever beasts hungry come and get a part of you. They all had their fill off of you because the Most High put that curse upon you. And no one would be there to fray them, and no one would be there to say, go away, shoot, and run them away from you. They will just eat you, just like the Most High has said here. Right? So no one will fray them away. Verse 27, the Lord shall smite thee with the bash of Egypt, and with the emeralds, and with the scab, and with the itch. And you know what the itch is? That's supposed to be something like what they call chicken pox, probably. And remember, Israel had none of these sickness before, but because they have the curse, all of these things shall come upon them. Wherefore thou cannot be healed. And the Lord shall smite thee with madness and blindness and astonishment of heart. So madness and blindness, just pay attention how your people or how our people have been acting recently and what they're doing, killing each other, robbing, stealing, all kinds of things. They're blind. They're mad. They're crazy. The things that they're doing today. Thank you, thank you. And thou shalt grope at noonday, as the blind groped in darkness. It means that you can see, but it's just a metaphor, right? There is no progress in your movement. There is basically nothing. There's nothing for you to establish yourself, right? So you'll be groping at noonday, in the very day, because you cannot see your way. Even you have eyes to see, even there is opportunity there, you just can't see it. So you'll be groping at noonday like the blind grope in darkness. So just like the blind man has to feel his way through life because he can't see anything and it needs his visuals, right? So someone has to guide him or he has to feel his way through. Right? As the blind gropeth in darkness, and thou shalt not prosper in thy ways. Mean that you won't prosper. Whatever you do, you'll fail. You'll literally fail at what you try. You'll try and you just won't make it. And we all have grown up seeing our parents and what they have gone through, how they suffered, how they complain about the rent, they complain about food, how they can't, how they can't afford it. They can't afford the rent. They have to borrow money. They have a long bill at the store, and on and the list goes on and on, man. And thou shalt be only oppressed and spoiled forevermore, and no man shall save thee. There is no nation that came at any point to save the slaves that were here. You're talking about in Haiti, they had to fight for themselves. They had to fight, and thousands of them died before they got what independence supposedly looked like. In Jamaica, the same thing. In Barbados and other countries, a lot of rebellion took place. You understand? No nation outside didn't come and said, stop this. You understand? So no man shall save you. Nobody is going to tell you and teach you that which is right so that you can rise up and become who you are. No one will save you. You have to save yourself. Thou shalt betroth a wife, and another man shall lie with her. Thou shalt build a house, and thou shalt not dwell therein. Thou shalt plant a vineyard, and on and on. So we know betrothing the wife and the what you call cheating and all of these things that happen. Wives goes out, cheat on their husbands, and all of these things. These are things that are going to happen to them. And this would become customary for this group of people, that you will see this happen regular. They will marry and their woman cheat. Their woman go out and sleep with another brother, another man, and vice versa. Same thing will happen. So these things are cursed. So you shall betroth a wife, and another man shall lie with her. Another man will have the same pleasure from her, the very woman that you claim that you love, and another man shall have her. And let's go over here because I want to get to the importance of what the Deuteronomy 28 through 68 I'm reading, right? And thine eyes shall look and fail with longing for him. Oh, I'm running too fast. I'm 13. I'm at 13. Thine ox shall be slain before thine eyes, and thou shalt not eat thereof. Thine ass shall be violently taken away. That means that everything that I mentioned in Jeremiah 17 verse 4, everything that you own will be taken for a spoil. It will be taken away from you. Right? Violently taken away from before thy face, and shall not be restored to thee. Thy sheep shall be given unto thine enemies, and thou shalt have none to rescue them. You shall have no might, nothing at all. No one shall stand up and say, let's go get what was taken from us. Thy sons and thy daughters, very important, shall be given unto another people. And thine eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all the day long, and there shall be no might in thine hands. It means that you'll be helpless. You shall be helpless. You will have no might in your hands. So your sons, your daughters. Does that sound familiar? Does it sound familiar for those of you who are familiar with slavery and what took place during slavery? When you had a son, when your son reached 5, 6 years of age, they will be taken away from you. And they will be sold to another plantation to be more indoctrinated with the Willie Lynch syndrome. Right? Or with the Willie Lynch idea, so-called idea to control the slaves forever. So your sons and your daughter were taken away, and you'll be longing. Longing for them mean that you'll be there looking every second. Because guess what? You can't do nothing. You're in a plantation. You're in captivity. You don't have the free will to run behind your sons or your daughters to look for them. So you'll watch the enemy who have power over you, took away that what is important from you and sold him or give him to someone else to take. And there is nothing you can do about it. So you shall have no might, right? You shall have no might in thine hand. That means you won't be able to defend the situation. You will be incapable of standing up for what you call rights. You won't have those. You won't have those things that you call rights. They'll be taken away from you. You understand me? Now you have to put these in context because this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to validate the information here, right? Because as I said before, if the word of the Most High is true and he has told us, whether it was written or we hear these things orally, that these things would have happened, and when we align them with the things that took place or that's taking place, we would see and know who the people are that were talked about here in the book. So we don't have to debate with anybody else. We don't have to debate with any other nation to find this out. It's in you to find the truth, my friend. It's all around you. You look within yourself. And the questions are there, the answers are there as well. Who do you know that their children were taken away from them, right? And they were sold? Who do you know that were sold as bondmen and bondwomen, and they work and they build houses that they can't live in? They kill animals and they can't eat the meat. They were given the part that was rejected. What you call that? Here in America, they do it as chicklins and pig feet and the parts of the pig that were rejected by their own. You cannot eat the things that they eat. But anyway, let's continue. The fruits of thy land and all thy labors shall a nation which thou knowest not eat up. They will take everything, and thou shalt be only oppressed and crushed all ways. So that thou shalt be mad for the sight of thine enemies, which thou shalt see. You will see them doing these things, and there's nothing you can do. You'll be upset, so upset that they're prospering, they're doing these things, and you're not prospering. The Lord shall smite thee in the knee and in the legs with a sore botch that cannot be healed from the sole of thy foot unto the top of thy head. You know, there's a what they call this. I heard the name of it. They call back in the island, right? They call it again. It's a cut that can't be. It doesn't heal, right? That would be one of the main thing. No matter what you do to it, is a lot of people have this back in the island, and they do so many things, put so many things on it, and it never could heal. You know, I forgot the name of it, but true thing. You could do your research on that, and you'll see. So when it said that the Lord shall smite thee in the knee and in the leg with a sore botch that cannot be healed from the sole of the foot unto the top of the head. The Lord shall bring thee and thy kings which thou shalt set over thee unto a nation which neither Sorry. Yeah, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known. And there shalt thou serve other gods, wood and stone. So the Most High is going to bring a nation against the Israelites, a nation that they have never known before, meaning there would be a people that we have never seen them before, and they wouldn't look like us, right? They would be different in appearance from what the people that live close in proximity to Israel would look like, right? The other groups of people that live around them. These people that would come later on, we would have never known them. Just like now you go into Africa and certain places, sure, just in Africa and other places, right? A lot of places in Africa, people have never seen a white person before. When they came there, they were surprised. So these new people that came, they didn't know who they were, according to the prophecy, right? The blessings and the curse, Deuteronomy 28 through 68. Right? So we're at Deuteronomy 28 verse 36. Right? So let me just answer this brother question as he asked him. He said, if God creates perfect world, why sin could be developed? Very, very interesting question. Very, very interesting. Now, we have to understand this, right? The fact that if we go back to the beginning, this is where we're going to, really get some understanding on what took place. Now, the Most High, you have to think about this, right? The Most High, in His glory and His righteousness, could have created men, but because we have common sense, because we have the intelligence that He gave to us. Yes, greetings, my brother. He created men. He could have created us with just one mind, just to believe whatever He said, to do whatever He wants, and we would have been doing that, right? We would have never faltered, this wouldn't be freedom. This wouldn't be what we would call freedom and the right to think the way that we wanted. The Most High created us as individuals with different feelings, different expression, different thoughts, the way we process information, the way we process things, the way we see things visually, mentally, spiritually, everything is different. Right? So, because the freedom exists, this creates two paths now. Because there's a decision to make for us to choose which one would we follow, which one we would not. So the freedom to think, right, is breaking the boundaries down, right? Taking away the boundaries that would be the control, right? And it's an open field, and we could go any direction we wanted. Now, because you have, if you read in Genesis, when you talk about there was a war in heaven, and the dark spirit got kicked out, right? And he ended up in the earth, right? And if you read in Genesis, and the book tell you, right, in Genesis, say the tree of knowledge of good and evil, right? That was in the middle of the garden. There was a tree of life of good, and who was that? Of good and evil. It even said, when you read further in the scriptures, right, that the secret of heaven was revealed unto Adam and Eve. Right? What secret revealed to them? Because the angels, they knew what was good. They knew what was bad. They knew both things. When man was created, they didn't know that. This was revealed to them by someone else. This is how they got corrupted, and it was their choice. That's why the Most High, everything He does, right? He would warn them and said, listen, don't do this. Do not do this, because there is a repercussion for this action. So He would have given them, and the reason why He told them not to take from this place, I'm just using what they've said, but we know it's not tree and this apple thing, right? It's something completely different. But anyways, we will get into that one of these thing. But the reason why they were warned is because He knew that there was something there, so he gave them a heads up, and it was within their decision and how they split, right? How they split this information in two, and which one of these information they would follow. but they chose the wrong one. So this person that revealed this negative thing it continues to perpetuate from generation to generation to generation, as it wasn't like that before when they were created before. They were created innocent, right? They were created knowing righteousness and knowing truth. But they were warned about the tree of life, which knew good and knew evil. This is why when Eve, when she and let me just read that for you right away, so you can so you can get an understanding. Genesis, I believe, is 14, right? It said your eyes will be open, right? You won't die. He said your eyes will be open, you'll become God. So someone is convincing Eve, right, to do what they want her to do, right? So let's go to, where is it? Let me find this. So let's go to Genesis 3, right? And now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field. So there was someone there. They call it serpent because they associate this negative thing with snake or whatever, but we'll break that down at some point. More subtle than had made, no, sorry. Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made, right? Now, if you listen to that very carefully, it said like more than any, it was more subtle than any beast of the field at the most I would. So this, whatever this wasn't on the same level as the beast or what they call beast or have the same intelligence, was very different. And he said unto the woman, now you understand the parables and the metaphors that's been used there. This beast said something, speak to the woman, right? He had speak to the woman, yea, had God said, ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden. And the woman said unto the serpent, right, we may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but not of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden. God had said, ye shall not eat of it, neither shall he touch it, lest he die. Right? And the serpent said unto the woman, ye shall not surely die. So now someone is working and convincing this woman, oh, nothing is going to happen to you. Just go ahead and try it, right? For God does know that in the day ye eat thereof, right, then your eyes shall be open, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. You hear what they said there? You shall be like gods, knowing good and evil. So go back to my point, what I say to you. The Most High, when men were created, they didn't know anything about evil, right? They've learned this because it was revealed to them, right, by, I don't use the word devil, but this dark energy or this dark consciousness, this negative consciousness revealed unto them. And this is why he said, you shall know both like gods, knowing good and evil. You shall be like gods, knowing good and evil. Now you will know the very things, right, that you didn't know before. He was deceiving them while telling them the truth, right? But evil was something that was never taught to us. We weren't supposed to know that, but it was taught to us by this dark consciousness, right? And the serpent said unto the woman, he shall not surely die, for God does know that in the day ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, right? And ye shall be as God, knowing good and evil. And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, now they use food, but we know that's not what it is, basically. As I said, I'll break that down at some point, right? And The Bible said, let me see if I found this one. Where is it? It's 15. 15. Where is it? I had to look for this one. But my brother, if you understand the clarity of what I'm saying there, so the perfect world was the perfect world that the Most High created, right? Everything was good. Adam and Eve, they knew that which was good. They didn't know the other side until it was taught to them. It's like if you were born as a baby, right? And you were born in the water. You would be swimming in the water and you'd believing this is the only place. Unless someone come to you and tell you, oh, my son, you don't need to be in here. You can come on the land to and walk. And once you start to do this, now you have two experiences when you had only one before. You only knew that when you were born in water, in the water, right? That was your life. That was your whole thing. That's what you were introduced to. That's what you knew from the very inception. But now someone interfered and tell you, no, you can walk. Look at us. We're running. We're playing ball. You could do the same thing. So now you would leave, right, this element or the space that you're in to go and have this new experience. Now, this is where you're going to know about walking on the earth now that it is different. Now you have two experiences instead of one. So that's all it is, my brother. We weren't born in sin as they taught you, right? But sin were taught to us because of disobedience, right? This is how we know about sin. Disobedience. So we weren't born into it, as that's a they misteach you or misguide you with information like that, right? So I hope you get your understanding from that. So as I said, there's a lot when we're dealing with the Bible, because there's so much to uncover, and it is so vast. The information is so vast, right? So let's get back to Deuteronomy, as I said, and I always tell you guys, man, Deuteronomy 28 through 68 is very important if you're a descendant of slaves to read this book to understand where you are, and if this familiar with what you're going through today, living here in the America and other places around the world. So we get back into Deuteronomy, and we are at 28:36, right? The Lord shall bring thee and thy kings, which thou shalt set over thee, unto a nation which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, and there shalt thou serve other gods, wood and stone. Now, I spoke about this last week, the wood and the stone, and the representation of the very things that here it said, God of wood, we shall worship other gods, wood, stone. There's two clues that we're giving there, right? There are two clues that we're giving there, right? Now, we know the symbolism of Christianity is the cross, right? The cross is made of what? Wood. Now, we know that 75% of what you call black people in the world, African American blacks, wherever you want to call them, 70% of them, just talk about black American in this country, 75% of them is Christian. 75% of the population, right, is Christian. 75 of them, everybody that live within the US, 75% of Christians are black. You get what I'm saying? There you shall serve God of wood and stone. Now we understand that, remember Elijah Muhammad, I don't know if you guys read about him or know about him. And then when he went to Mecca and went to the Middle East, and he began to see things different, and then guess what? He tried to convince a lot of you guys to become what? Muslims. And a lot of blacks become what? Muslims. Right? Now, the symbol of Islam, what is it? What is the symbol of Islam? The Kaaba. The black stone in Mecca, right? Where they go every with Ramadan and other different practices, and they will march around this thing, or they call it the holy city. They will march around the stone, I mean, for hours, hours, and they will go around and around and around and around it. So the Bible clearly telling us what would happen to the Israelites, what they will be doing, right? And we're at 37. I'm sorry, we're at 30. We're at 36, right? 28 verse 36. I'm sure you guys can take your Bible and follow along. The Lord shall bring thee and thy kings, which thou shalt set over thee, unto a nation which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, and there shalt thou serve other gods, wood and stone. Other gods, wood and stone. You understand me? My brothers and sisters out there, I'm trying to validate the information so that you can connect the information, and you can connect the people that the book is talking about to this information that is written here, right? And it will be uniquely these group of people that you would see all the time facing the same thing. The very same thing is happening to them. So this is how we're validating the scripture. As I said, the Bible is it the complete word of God, and that's part 2 of what we're discussing today. Let's continue. And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations where the Lord shall lead thee. Very, 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 this is very important. An astonishment, a parable, byword. What is or which nation has been called a byword? Not by their choice. Not by their choices. That's been called a byword. That's an astonishment to all nation. Which nation you know? Any of you? Which nation do you know has been called a byword? Nigger, monkey, coon, right? And all kinds of different names that they call you in different languages that I'm unfamiliar with. Everywhere you are, someone call you something. That's the byword. Prophecy, prophecy, and more prophecy. And thou shalt become an astonishment, right? An astonishment, a proverb, right? And you guys know what a proverb is. A byword, you know what the byword is. Nigger, the very word that all these people call you. Black, nigger, black. That's not a nation. Black is a color. It's not a nation of people, but that's what you will be called. So you understand who the book is talking about. These are the very unique things that you're going to, many times the pastor won't explain these things to you. Your pastors in the church were just there trying to hound the money from you to buy the next mansion or fly the next jet. And that's what they're about. They won't tell you about this. They will not teach you anything about this. The prophecy is unique to a group of people. Very unique. Not 2 people or 3 people from different nations. Only a group of people. And the Bible already explains these people are scattered among the nations. They're not in their home anymore. And as I read through Jeremiah 17:4, they will be discontinued from their heritage. That means they will no longer know who they are. They won't know themselves. They have no idea of who they are. But this will happen at some point. So the astonishment, proverb, and the byword, you see that. Thou shalt carry much seed out into the field, and shalt thou gather but little in, for the locust shall consume. And these things happen during the time when the sin begin to multiply on them living in their lands, right? So, but the Bible is explaining everything. Okay, now let's go. And let's go to 45. Say, moreover, let's go to 45. Moreover, which is 28:45. Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee, and overtake thee, till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to keep his commandments and his statutes, which he commanded thee this day. Which he commanded thee. And they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever. It means that you, my friend, descendants of slave, you would grow and inherit the very things that your parents left behind. Nothing, emptiness. They died and they left just $1. There's nothing for you. Your days will be, you'll suffer here. The sky above you will be brass, and the ground beneath you shall be iron. Your days will be hard. You'll be oppressed and you'll be crushed. Just like the very book explained to us. And it shall be upon you for a sign. That means you will know it. You will know this. Right? You will know this, and the other people will know, and they'll ask you, you can't do nothing for yourself. Why you can't do this? Why? People are going to put you down. They're going to disrespect you. They're going to say many things about you. Right? This shall be upon you for a sign, mean that people will be seeing. They will see your tribulation. They will know your tribulation. Right? The nation around will know you. They will tell you that you are low IQ'd, that your IQ, you don't have any IQ. They will disrespect you in many ways, right? They know. They know. Right? They shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever, because thou servest not the Lord thy God with joyfulness, with gladness of heart, for the abundance of all things. They are very important. With joyfulness and gladness of heart. You have to serve the Most High. This is what we didn't do. This is why the children of Israel are scattered and they are living in the land of their captivity. They did not serve the Lord with gladness of heart, with joyfulness and gladness of heart. And this is why they're in the situation that they're in. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in wants of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed you. Now you shall serve your enemies. You shall serve your enemy because you didn't want to serve the Most High. So who now you should serve? Trump, Bush, George Bush, Bush the son, Obama. Everybody you're going to be served. Your enemies, you'll be serving them. You'll be doing the very things that they want you to do. You would look to them in wants and in need for all things because you can't do nothing for yourself. Tell me. And I'm talking about the diaspora, people living in America. What have you produced? Do you have the source of food coming to you? You know where it's coming from? Everything that you eat, where, is coming from where? Your enemies. It's not coming from you. Okay? In nakedness and in wants of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee. Now you guys know what a yoke of iron is, right? It's something that you put, you know what they had, the slaves, they had this thing that they lock on their neck, like what they would call a dog leash today, but it was iron, right? And this is the yoke of iron that were put upon the necks of the slaves from here in the Americas and across the sea into the Caribbean. You had all different types of things. Now, these are the only people that this happened to, as I said, uniquely, you're going to know that this happened to these particular people and it did not happen to any other group of people. So I'm sure you guys know what a yoke of iron is, right? You should look it up. Let me see if I could pull something up to show you guys here, right? What the yoke of iron is, so you can have an understanding of what I'm talking about. I'm not sure if you're going to see it very clearly, but I shall show you these things because I want you to align what's happening today with what the book is saying and who it's happening to, which group of people that you can identify yourself, because apparently, as I said, the Israelites, right? They're discontinued from their heritage. Oh man, I don't think I could show it there. I'm not sure if you guys can see that. That is one of them, the yoke of iron around his neck. So they came in different form and it has a chain on it. And that means you can't go anywhere, right? You can't run away. You can't do nothing basically. This thing is around your neck. And sometimes it's long in different ways. It's difficult that if you're trying to escape, you can't really go far with that on your neck, right? So the yoke of iron around your neck. These things happen. I'm not making this up. You go to the Library of Congress and you do your research and you're going to see these very things that the book speaks about. Nobody will highlight this. Your pastor would not highlight this to you. They won't tell you these things because they're going along with the side. You call these pastors out there, you call them the boulets. And the boulets, these are men who work for the king. They work for the government just to calm you, to keep you in place, and they earn riches. So they sell you out, right, to your enemies. They continue to program you with nonsense for you to believe that. They tell you that you're going to be saved and you should go to church, right? And you should do these things because in the end, you're going to be saved. They didn't tell you that the church is a modern injection in the book. None of these things were there before. The Israelites are not church-going people. They're not religious people, right? They're spiritual people. Their God, right, is spiritual. They serve their God in spirit and in truth. Your pastors are liars, blasphemers, who tell you things to keep you in the position that you are, working with the government. I know you hear about the 501c3, and you search that up, 501c3. You search that up yourself. All these churches have it. All of them. It's a business. They're acting as a business. You understand me? They have to teach you, otherwise they'll lose. They will lose if they don't. They have to teach you these things. So they're getting paid by the government. They're working for the government to keep you indoctrinated and tell you a bunch of lies so you won't find yourself. You will never find yourself. Just think about it. Are people confused today? Are they truly confused? Do they not see what's happening? The Israelites, they were the only group of people that could call upon the Messiah, call upon the Creator, and he would answer them. Right? He would answer them if they called upon him. Right? Do you see any group of people today can call on the Creator and you respond to them the way that you responded to them when they were in Egypt? Do you see that? When they were in the Greek captivity, when they were in Philistia, in the Philistine had them in captivity. Do you see that today? Because the people that can wield this ability, they are lost and they're discontinued from their heritage. They don't know themselves. Why would they tell you who your Creator is? This is why when you read the Bible, they tell you, oh, the name change. And why you think they tell you? Because the name is very important for you to know, right? You understand what I'm saying? It's like if you go on your phone and you said, say what's this what's in Alexa? This thing called Alexa, right? Now if this name is programmed to understand English, then English is what you can say to it. But you can't change the name if this is the name that activates this device. You can't change this name as Siri, right? So Siri, if you don't know the name and you use some other language to say, is Siri going to respond to you? No. You could make up whatever name you want, but that's not the origin. That's not the origin name for the for that thing. So therefore, you won't get response. So when we're talking about, you understand what I'm saying? So if you're gonna say, "Hey Siri," or Hey Dogma," who's going to respond to you? You know, who's going to respond to you? You understand me? No one will respond to you. So the name is very, 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 very important. You know, it's very important to know. This is how you connect with the individual. This is how you connect with the Most High. But this is why he said, "My name." And his people, his name is written there. You understand? So you have to understand the name is very important. I can't send you, so I can't recommend you. How could someone recommend you, right? Tell you, oh, go to Africa and go and speak to Makunde or whoever this person is, and just tell him to give you, he will invite you in, right? I'm recommending you. It means that you have to mention my name. If I tell you to go there and you mention my name to him, say if my name is Abba, I said go there, tell him Abba. He will know and he will take you in and he will give you shelter for the night, whatever. If you go there and you don't remember the name and say Jake or somebody, this guy gonna say to you, nope, we don't need you here. You're an outsider. We don't know you. But if you mention the name, the right name that was given, the person can familiar themselves with it. And with that said, my people, we actually exceeded time today. A lot of people came in a little bit late, and I hope you guys kind of get your fill. We're going to continue. We're at Deuteronomy now, 37, right? 28, 37. And I implore you guys, man, to continue to read Deuteronomy 28 through 68. And, you know, have some questions for me so we can, discuss more of this, and, do leave some comments so we can, talk about the next segment. Yeah, so